This is Glenn Hughes, the voice of rock, and you're listening to Music Mania.
You ready for some screaming heavy metal? We rock! But the evil that men do, then done. We gonna bang your head!
You are now listening to the Music Mania Podcast, brought to you by CD Warehouse in Gladstone, the #1 hard rock podcast in the Midwest, featuring hard-hitting interviews with rock's living legends. And now, here's your host, Clint Switzer.
And we are off and running on another episode of the Music Mania Podcast. I am your host, Clint Switzer, with a very special guest this week. For the third time, Ryan Roxie, guitarist from Alice Cooper, will be joining us to talk about his new solo album, Imagine Your Reality, as well as Alice Cooper's upcoming tour. The fact that Alice played with some of his old bandmates from the Alice Cooper Band on a UK tour recently. I'm going to talk to him about that, the Alice Cooper Band, and how solidified this group is. I think they've been together for about 4 years now, that this group has been together. You think about, Nita Strauss, Tommy Henriksen joining him with guitar duties, Glenn Sobel on drums, Chuck Garrick on bass. I mean, it is a very tight band. This may be the best Alice Cooper band that there's been maybe since the original band, and I think that it's important to understand the musicianship and just how good this group is, and Alice Cooper at 70, who is still just firing on all cylinders. I swear, he's an ageless wonder, 70 years old, to still be doing it, and with no signs of wearing down. And we're going to talk to Ryan about his golf game. Hopefully that's improved, because when you play golf with Alice Cooper, you better be good. You better keep up. Alice is very good, has a very good handicap, plays golf on the road all the time, and we are going to be talking to him. He's got a new solo album, like I said, Imagine Your Reality. You can go to YouTube right now and check out, for the new album, there's a single out called Over and Done, which is a lyric video on YouTube. And you can also check out his cover of Cheap Trick's California Man, which also features Robin Zander. So some heavy hitters on this thing. Ryan is a great musician, tremendous guitarist, and a good friend. He was the first guest we ever had here on this podcast back in, I believe, 2012. And the fact that, to me, I believe that laid a foundation, and we were able to, when we were talking about having other guests on and to be able to show them that we're legitimate, we could get guests, that we had someone like of his caliber, and it grew from there. Guys like Jeff Pilson from Foreigner, also a big part of that. And we can't thank you guys enough, because on this show, you guys know the songs. On this show, we tell you the stories, and we delve into the psyche and into the never-ending stratosphere that is rock music, and we love to speak with these musicians. I get off on it. It's what I'm all about. This show is not for me to spin, my own thoughts and ideas about the music, although sometimes I will, throw in a review. I'll talk about concerts I go to and things like that, but I'm not going to sit here and give you my top 10 albums of all time. I'm not going to tell you my top 10 favorite drummers. This is about these guys, the musicians, their stories, and we appreciate your support with that. If you ever, any of you have an interview that you'd like us to do, a guest that you'd like us to reach out to, hit us up at musicmania_show on Twitter. Guys, hit that subscribe button on YouTube and iTunes. We always appreciate that. It's a big part of what we do, is the interaction and you guys letting us know what you want, letting us know what we can improve on. It's very important, no doubt about that. And before we get to our interview with Ryan Roxie, I want to let you know about our sponsor, CD Warehouse in Gladstone, Missouri. For over 20 years, a staple of music in the Northland. I own 95% of the music that I still own today, and I got it from CD Warehouse. My buddy Randy Ringer, the owner, will hook you up with a discount if you mention the Music Mania Podcast. Just remember, CD Warehouse in Gladstone, Missouri, right off of Antioch Road. They buy, sell, and trade, guys, DVDs, CDs, vinyl, and more. That is CD Warehouse in Gladstone, Missouri. For over 20 years, a staple of the Northland. All right, well, I tell you what, we are being joined for the third time in the history of this podcast by Mr. Ryan Roxie. Ryan, welcome to the show. This appearance puts you tied with Jeff Pilson from Foreigner as the most appearances on this show. It's just got to be a badge of honor.
Well,
anytime you go against Jeff Pilson, it's a stiff competition, let me tell you.
Well, both great guys. I'll tell you what, Ryan, in all honesty, you've been there from the beginning. I believe you were our first ever guest on this show 4 years ago when this started. So it's great to hear from you. It's been a while. Right when we talked to you the first time, you were just releasing, I think, the Amira Swede solo album, and now here we are, a few years later, and you're getting ready to release Over and Done. Talk about this album. We've seen the single and the video for that, Over and Done, which is on YouTube. Just kind of talk about this album, what the process, what it's meant to you, and when the official release date is, so that we can make sure that we get to your website and pre-order this thing.
Well, thanks, Clint. First off, I just want to say congratulations on the podcast, having it go for 4 years. That says something these days, the longevity of stuff. So thanks for carrying the torch of rock and roll for all these years. Good on you. The next thing, it is a little bit strange that we talked about 4 years ago, and we're talking about the Roxie 77 EP, and then most people start their solo careers a little bit earlier in life. But I decided to put a solo album out this year. I really, really wanted to make a guitar-driven album. That's kind of what we did. And we entitled it Imagine Your Reality. When you say Over and Done is the first single, or actually the second single, because we already released a song called California Man, which is a Cheap Trick cover. Actually, not even a Cheap Trick cover, a cover from the band called The Move, which Cheap Trick covered. And I was a huge fan of Cheap Trick, as people know or may not know. And we had Robin Zander sing on that song. So that was the first single, which is available out on iTunes and YouTube and all that special stuff. And now we have Over and Done out there, and you can go to any of your favorite streaming medias, or if you actually want to go and pay money for it, go give the good people at iTunes some cash and come check it out.
Oh, absolutely, and you can, and you have all sorts of stuff available here on your website, ryanroxie.com. You can go and there's different packages. You can get an Imagine Your Reality, a T-shirt package with a limited edition vinyl. I mean, this is kind of a big deal. And I know when we talked about your last EP, it was very important for you to release on vinyl. And talk about that again. Why is that?
Well, I still have this fascination with vinyl, and I probably always will. It goes back from being a little kid and having those rock and roll posters on my wall and having a pretty big vinyl collection, and being able to take the record out, take the inner sleeve out, read along with the lyrics. I always thought the experience of listening to music was very important. Not just listening to it, but reading it, taking it in, and in some ways using your imagination. And again, going back to the title of the album, Imagine Your Reality, that's what I used to do back in those days. I used to just imagine myself being on stage in front of a lot of people, and I just didn't sit back and daydream. I actually put one foot in front of the other and put the plan into action. But it started with the imagination and then putting it into action, and then it became the reality.
Where do you get time to do this? Because I know you live in Sweden. You're joining us right now from Sweden. But Alice Cooper, the tour schedule is relentless. And here you are, able to do this. I talked to a lot of musicians, and finding the time is so very difficult. How did you find the time, and kind of where did you put this together at? I assume you have something probably at home there in Sweden where you do a lot of recording. Just talk about the process of doing this.
Well, I think as musicians, we have to make time for it. It's what we do. It's part of who we are, getting that music out on whatever format you want to eventually put it out on, digital, compact disc, vinyl, or just playing live shows. You need to get that material out there that comes from wherever through your body and out to the world. So you make the time for that, no doubt. Luckily, we have a boss that likes to tour a lot, and we're definitely excited about that. We will take any chance we can to go play live shows, because that's what basically gives us income and lets us see the world playing music, which is pretty awesome. But when you say find the time, well, on this record, there were actual days. 3 of the tracks on this album were recorded, believe it or not, the majority, the meat of the tracks, the sort of guitars and lead vocals and stuff like that, some overdubs, were recorded in hotel rooms on days off. Those 3 tracks that appear on the album were recorded by Tommy Hendrickson, who I play with in Alice Cooper. He produced 3 of the tracks. Another guy named John Borden, who worked on the Ameriswede album, he produced 1 of the tracks up here in Sweden. And then our friend Christopher Folin produced the majority of the tracks, and we did that in and out of breaks when I was on tour last year. Anytime I'd have any time off in Stockholm, I would go into the studio and we would work on stuff, and then he would send stuff out to me out on the road, and we did a collaboration like that. But he taped the lion's share of the songs, and we came up with a 10-song album, 10 songs, 10 guitar solos. Everybody's happy.
Well, I know a big part for you is interacting with fans, and I know you've been doing the Ryan Roxie International Rock and Roll Parking Lot. Wherever you go with touring with Alice and whatever it may be, I think that's one of the coolest things that I've seen in rock is you actually interacting with fans and meeting them and taking pictures, and you've always got some of your swag around, which is great. Just talk about that and how important that's been for you, and how excited, what it's like to meet these people, because I think people really do appreciate it when they feel like they can be a part of you and a part of the experience. It really adds a lot, and you provide that for people. And I'm sure you have some horror stories as well. I'm sure you've got some bad ones in the mix, but hey, it's overall a good experience, I'm sure.
No, Clint, I mean, you make it sound so regal, the Ryan Roxie International Rock and Roll Parking Lot. We just call it the parking lot, for short. But it necessarily doesn't have to be in a parking lot. We do it on Facebook. You sign up for it, and then there is a location before every show. Sometimes it's by the buses, sometimes it is in the parking lot, but most times it's in the venue. Maybe we find a cool nook and cranny in the venue that I can walk out into the audience, and not a lot of people will, notice, because they're waiting for the big rock show with Alice Cooper coming out with the guillotines and all that. So the last thing they would expect is their guitar player to be walking through the crowd. So I sneak by a bunch of people and find my 10 or 15 people that have signed up for it every single night. And then sometimes those 10 or 15 people turn into 20, 25. They see me taking pictures with, sometimes I bring my guitar out. They see a little crowd forming, and sometimes it can get a little bit scary and ugly, but it never has to this point gotten to the point where it's unruly. We always have a good time, and I got to be honest, the Rock and Roll Parking Lot I do it just as much for myself as anyone who wants to meet me and talk about my guitars or my music or whatever. I get to sort of gauge the crowd from that Rock and Roll Parking Lot, see where the energy's at, get hyped up, and basically get ready for the rock show.
Talk about this current incarnation of the Alice Cooper Band, because you rejoined in, I believe, 2012. It was soon after that Nita came on board, but you guys have been solidified for over 4 years now with Glenn, Chuck, Tommy, yourself. Just talk about this band and its current incarnation and how things are firing, because I think a lot of people are talking about this being the best incarnation of the Alice Cooper Band, and now you guys have been together and cohesive for so long. This has to be just a machine at this point.
You hit the nail on the head, or the head on the nail. I don't really know how that saying goes, but you're right. This is the most cohesive band and consistent band that Alice has had touring-wise since the original band. So I'm pretty proud of that fact. I'm proud of every member of the band, because at the end of the day, we all know whose name is on the marquee, and we all know who we have to perform to what level. We know that Alice is going to bring it and give the energy to the crowd to such a high level. We have to make it up to that level each and every night. He inspires us to do that. So everybody in this lineup knows who's on the marquee, plus we know our role. And the beauty of it is Alice every single night gives us our moment to shine, whether it's when Glenn does his guitar solo, whether I get some nice stage time on a certain solo for here or there, Tommy, and of course Nita, and even Chuck has his moment right in the, he has a bass solo as well. So everybody gets their moment.
And I think that's great. And I think that this just as identifiable players. I mean, you just saw, for instance, Nita Strauss playing at WrestleMania a couple weeks ago. And how cool was that? She played Shinsuke Nakamura to the ring, with an amazing face-melting guitar shredding solo. It was just, so the visibility's there for all you guys. I think that's tremendous. Of course, Chuck with a band like Bisto Blanco, yourself and your solo work, all good. You guys have dates coming up here this summer all the way through the fall again, because, of course, Ellis wouldn't just do something like take a summer off. Would never happen, would it? You're still waiting for one of those.
We do have more time than last year. Last year was pretty chalk and block. We played almost, well over 100 shows last year, so we were busy pretty much the entire year. But this year, there is a little bit of time off. Glenn and Tommy have the vampire duties. They're going to be jamming with the Hollywood Vampires, so Alice does have some dates with that band. But that gives me the opportunity, and Chuck the opportunity, and Nita, and all of us who do our solo stuff as well, to fit in dates during those times. We all know our priority is Alice Cooper. We all love being in this band, but we also, we really appreciate these breaks where we can promote our own solo stuff as well, and hopefully we can continue to promote it while we're on the road through the rest of the year. So there's music 365 days a week. We try to.
Well, you recently, Ryan, put out your personal list of 10 favorite Alice Cooper songs. Okay, and I was going through it, and for one, I had to ask, where's Teenage Frankenstein or He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask? I just don't know where they are in this list. Hey, I love those songs. I'm a huge 80s Alice fan, but your list?
You know what? I put some 80s on there.
You did.
I put Clones.
Clones is
that
on
was
here.
Early 80s.
Poison's on here. Of course, that was 90.
Yeah.
But, 80 still.
Poison, you have to. Poison, the necessary evil. You need that on there. I love Classic Rock Magazine for printing that. But, yeah, Man Behind the Mask, I heard it the other day on Classic Rock Radio. And on the original version, there's no guitars.
Correct.
I couldn't believe it. We do it with like a, triple axe, 3-guitar arrangement, and then I listened to it on Classic Rock Radio. It sounds so sweet, and I was going to an IKEA with my wife and my my 2 kids, and all of a sudden Man Behind the Mask comes on, and I'm waiting for the guitars, and I'm waiting for it to get kind of heavy, and I was like, wait a second, it's all synthesizer.
I think they wound up kind of switching it with another song on the album to fit with the Friday the 13th movie. It's a very, I love Constrictor, and I love all this, and I love your choices here. You seem to really be a fan of the album Love It to Death, which I am as well. And you have Long Way to Go on here, for instance, and that's an awesome track. And but hey, Women of Mass Distraction. How about that? That's for a song that you co-wrote, I believe.
Right. Well, the thing is, the album Love It to Death, that was sort of the blueprint for the Eyes of Alice Cooper.
Sure.
When we went in to record the Eyes of Alice Cooper, Alice said to us, he said, let's make a garage rock record. Like, we were all just jamming in a garage for days. And to be honest with you, that's the way the album sort of really ended up being recorded. It was a warehouse, but it wasn't that much bigger than a garage, small warehouse. And Mudrock did a great job of getting some really organic live performances out of all of us for that record. And I think it did stem from the fact that the energy we were supposed to be drawing from was the Love It to Death album.
Absolutely, and I think that kind of bled over even into Dirty Diamonds, and it's just kind of those albums to me kind of go together, and I think that's wonderful having you back. And Alice has, he's done a few things with some of his former bandmates. What are your thoughts on that, Ben? Because I think it's kind of great to see him do a few things. I think did a couple shows and did some things with some of the original guys. What was your take on that? I mean, it's cool to see that. Of course, we recognize the band in its current incarnation as the Alice Cooper Band, but good to see him go do some things with some of the other guys. They really made such a mark in the early 70s. Obviously, it's great to see that.
Well, we got the pleasure to do a tour of the UK where the original guys came out. obviously Glenn passed away a bunch of years ago. They asked me if I would play Glenn's parts, and it was pretty natural to do that, being that I've been playing his part since 96 and learning the songs of the original band. So basically, I got to just have the best seat in the house to see those original guys and how they interacted, how they came together as an original band, and almost sounded like a completely different band with the same singer that we have. So when you went to see that UK tour with the original band, we go on as our current touring band, and then the original band would come on. I'd stay on stage and play the songs, and it was almost as if Alice, his voice, I don't want to say changed, because he still sounded like Alice Cooper, but it even was more like a gelled sort of four guys making the same noise, but in a very melodic way. I don't know how else to put it, but it was just like controlled chaos, but the way you remember hearing it on the original records, because they weren't playing like anybody else. They were playing the stuff that they did themselves.
Absolutely, and that is super cool. And I tell you, we'd be remiss, and I tell you, we've met a few times. I'm from Kansas City. I'm a diehard Chiefs fan. I know you're a Raiders fan. We always got to bring this up now, especially since we talked last. I think the Raiders have maybe beat the Chiefs one time. The Chiefs 2-time division champions. Is this team ever gonna step it up and get to a division title here with this current deal? What's gonna happen?
I think this is our year. Come on, it's all got to come together.
You got John Gruden, so that helps.
We got our coach back.
Yep.
We got our coach back. I think we cleaned house of a few guys that were probably causing. There's always a little bit of attitude and ego with the Raiders.
Sure.
Even when we were losing, we have attitude and ego. But I really think we have to get back to just playing football the way the Silver and Black know how to do it. And I can hardly wait for our divisional games this year. I mean, you guys always start out with a bang, KC. And I got to be honest with you, after our guy went down, after DC went down the first couple games, basically broke his back, I was kind of like, well, that's a bummer for us this last year. I'll root for KC and hope they make, because you guys always start out with a bang. But then what happened?
Yep.
You guys faded.
The playoffs.
Look, man, I'm an AFC West fan. I feel it's the best division in football. It's the toughest division in football. And on any given day, even the Chargers can beat any one of our teams. So we're in a tough division, and good luck to you guys this year. But you got to at least hopefully give us a chance with getting John Gruden back and getting our quarterback back healthy, and hopefully AC will have a good year as well on wide receiver, and then who knows who we're going to pick up on free agency. I think we got some people already, right?
Yes, the Raiders have made some improvements. It's so hard for this rivalry to continue, because you're such a good, classy fan that you want to get some banter going. And you're just this great, nice guy. You're like, oh, we cheered for you until you got to the playoffs and lose, like the Chiefs always do. So,
well, you know what? You can't. Here's the thing. I respect the fans at your building, because you know what? Everybody makes such a big deal about how loud the Seattle Seahawks fans are and how loud that stadium is. And I've been to games there, and it is loud. But you know what? It's not 95,000 people loud. That's on a different level, and you guys sell that stuff out every single game. So I got to give it up for that, because when you guys have 95,000 people in your stadium and we have to put some vinyl on our wall of Davis up there, we put a big old vinyl Raiders logo over the wall of Davis that we tried to overbuild at the Coliseum. It's, hey, all I can say is we'll be good in Vegas, and we'll be good in Oakland right now for a couple more years. And being a Raider fan isn't about a city. It's about a state of mind.
That's very well put. And I tell you, I'm going to make this happen. I think we need to get you to Arrowhead for a game, Chiefs and Raiders. We'll have you play the national anthem. We can make that happen. And you can wear your Raiders shirt, and I'll just be there to promise that you get out okay and that there's no incidents. Can we make that happen?
Yeah. wear my Raiders shirt, man. What are you guys? You guys gonna bring all your D-size batteries or C-size batteries? I know the story.
That's just an urban legend. We're not sure if that actually happened or not. Well, yeah, you play the national anthem, you get the goodwill going, and then it's all good, right? You play the national anthem, you can't hate that guy.
Well, you know what? Let's make it a spirited rivalry, and let's have some fun with it this year. And like I said, hey, if you go out right now and go on to YouTube and you go onto iTunes right now, you'll see the backdrop of this single, Over and Done, is actually red and white. So there you go. I'm throwing one at you.
Man, see, that's just great. That is so wonderful. And Ryan, I tell you, we're always so excited. I'm going to see you actually, I think it is the 6th of August. You guys will be here in Kansas City at the Kaufman Center for Performing Arts. It's basically a beautiful venue for like symphonies and stuff. And then here comes Alice Cooper to just basically tear the thing down. And we can't wait for that. If you, I got to ask you before we let you go, has the golf game improved any? I've seen you playing some pretty pristine courses over the last couple years with the Alice Cooper Band. You got to be getting better, my friend. It's got to be happening.
Well, first of all, what you said as far as the venues goes, I think we'll play anywhere Alice's Guillotine fits in. So Symphony Hall is perfect.
It'll be there.
I mean, guillotines fit perfectly with that. And these old Phantom of the Opera type balconies and stuff like that, it almost helps with the set pieces and stuff. Now, as far as my golf game, we get to play a lot of bucket list venues with playing with Alice Cooper, but I also get to play a bunch of bucket list golf courses. And this past year, I got my first eagle. It was actually just this last tour that we just wrapped up in March. I got my first eagle on a par 4, which for those of you that don't know out there in golf land, it's 2 shots on a hole where you're supposed to hit it in 4 shots. So it's kind of like a hole-in-one.
Congratulations on that. I saw that. I think Alice might have even posted that on his Facebook or something, because he was so proud. Like a proud father. He finally saw you, mature into the golfer he knew you could become.
He not only taught me about rock and roll, he taught me about the white ball.
Which is as rock and roll as it gets. I mean, that's amazing. Ryan, we cannot thank you enough. I know it's pretty late there in Sweden, and I can't thank you enough for joining us, man. RyanRoxie.com. You can go and pre-order the new album. It is Imagine Your Reality. It's just great to hear releases from you, because I'm such a fan of your playing and your style and your vocals, to be honest. So to get to hear that in these albums is great. I've got it pre-ordered, and any new merchandise, we'll be sure to promote that as well, and we'll come see you here on August 6th. If you need any help to get a venue, if the Alice Cooper Band wants to play maybe the night before or something, I can make that happen for you guys as well. So
thank you very much, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we'll be able to do it again. And I will be on a 4th time to smash the record of Jeff Pilson's at that point. So no looking back. I'm taking no prisoners. I'm going to be the all-time leading member of your podcast, and hopefully all those amazing Kansas City rock and roll fans will show me the love for the Ryan Roxie album, and not show too much hate for the Raiders.
No, they respect you. We love you here, Ryan. We can't thank you enough, man. And to be honest, like I said, you were our first guest, and I don't know that we would be here without you, and I mean that. And we've interviewed every member of the Alice Cooper Band. We've had guys, from the Scorpions, from Def Leppard, from Tesla, from and Tommy James and the Shondells, all these bands, and you laid that groundwork. And I tell you, it really means a lot. You are a true rock and roll blood brother. We can't thank you enough, and we'll see you here in Kansas City in August, and it'll be good to see you and say hello again, my friend. But have a good summer. Good luck on this release. We will be in touch, of course. We'll catch up soon, my friend.
Thanks very much, Clint. We'll talk to you later.
You bet. Thank you. That's Ryan Roxie, and from the bottom of my heart, like I said, we thank him. Can't thank him enough, because what he did and coming on our show when we were a virtual unknown, when we did not have a lot of guests to point to say, hey, not only any guests but any listeners. It was just born out of a passion, and a passion for this music. And I remember targeting Ryan as someone that I always respected as a guitarist, and I loved him as a member of Alice Cooper's band. And now kind of coming full circle. And a couple years ago, whenever Alice was opening on the Motley Farewell Tour, Ryan gave us the royal treatment. I mean, we showed up in Des Moines, Iowa for a show, and we did an interview with him there backstage. And he gave us backstage passes. He gave us tickets to the show, had us backstage, after Ellis' set and got to meet with him. And just what a wonderful guy. We get into some banter about football, which is great. I love talking sports when I can with some of these musicians that are sports fans as well. So that's really cool. And we just wish Ryan and the best of luck on his new album. And you can go to his website, ryanroxie.com. The album is Imagine Your Reality. You can pre-order that today. They've got a bunch of different packages you can get, some that come with a t-shirt and a special edition vinyl copy of this album. Support Ryan, what he does. He's a great guitarist, great guy. We're definitely going to be looking into it and keeping in touch with him as this thing comes out. And as the Alice Cooper tour picks back up in August, you can go to alicecooper.com to check out all those dates. The date I will be at will be here in Kansas City. That's August 6th. That is at the Kauffman Center for Performing Arts in Kansas City. Like I said, it is like a brand new venue. It is mostly you'll see like symphonies play there, these high-end symphony orchestras. And now Alice Cooper is going to come in August 6th and tear the place down. And we cannot wait for that. Anytime we get Alice Cooper to Kansas City, it is a good day indeed. So want to head over there, check out that. There's still a few tickets left. Grab those up. Got a busy rest of the summer, guys. It is April. We are off and running. Bad weather is, for the most part, out the window, hopefully in most places, at least where you guys live. I know here in Missouri it's been hit and miss, but it's time for outdoors. It's time for friends, family, good times, summertime, live music. That's what it's all about. We're going to be hitting up so many shows this summer. It's going to be insane. My schedule is as busy as ever. Summers are supposed to be the time that I have off, right? But not here, not on this show. I'm bringing you the interviews, bringing you the reviews. You can go to musicmaniapodcast.com to check out all these show archives. Check out all my reviews of the shows I've been to so far this year. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Come back again next week. Always bringing you the guests. Remember, you know the songs. This is where you hear the stories, right here on the Music Mania Podcast.